Vote an agenda item. Please raise your hand when voting a motion. Please raise your hand clearly in order for it to be counted accurately. The first 10 minutes of this meeting is dedicated to members of the public, where we will try to answer your questions tonight. However, sometimes this is not possible, and we will aim to resolve your questions as soon as possible. Do we have any questions, please, from members of the public in attendance? Going. Okay, thank you. So I will now instate standing orders and commence with our first agenda item, which is 2021/2-1119, and that's apologies for absence and reasons given.
We received apologies from Councillor Carol Penman of acceptable reason, and Councillor Evelyn Kenny is absent with no apologies.
Okay, then for purposes of the minutes, we always record that they are accepted. And do we have a proposer? And a second, please. Rachel and Sophie. All those in favour? Thank you. It's agreed. So, item 120 is the clerk's report.
So we've got an update on the vacancies for Town Ward following the resignations of Eddie McNally, Dan Taylor and John Spencer. Following the notice period for an election, the vacancies for Eddie McNally and Dan Taylor will be available for co-option at the January meeting. The one for John Spencer is still waiting for the period to finish, which finishes this week. We've still got a vacancy for Home Ward, Drove Ward, and 2 vacancies for Town Ward, one of which is up for co-option tonight, and the gentleman who has put his papers in is in the meeting, Mr. Wiltshire.
Good evening. We'll receive some paperwork for you for co-option this evening. Do you want to say a few words to council?
No.
No? Okay. So the paperwork's come in,
Yeah.
checked in or received. So Tim would like to join us on the council. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Peter, Sam, and all those in favour? Okay, that's agreed. Tim, welcome on board. If you'd like to come and take a seat at the table. Brandy will come over with some paperwork for you. Welcome on board, Tim.
Hey.
And item C is correspondence received.
So we've had, I've had some liaison with the police this month because of the vandalism that's been happening in Barton Park, but Councillor Flood will come to that in her report. Councillor Carter has taken full council's complaint about parking in the High Street, and LCC are dealing with signing at Saturday Bridge as requested by members previously.
Okay, thank you, Jen. So, moving on to item 121, which is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011, and to consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in an agenda item. Do we have any declarations of interest, please?
Yeah, 124E and 125C, non-pecuniary.
I have the same non-clear interest.
I have the same E.
Non-clear interest.
B,
Yeah.
not 1256.
That's fine.
No. Okay, thank you. If there is a declaration of interest as we approach an agenda item, you can declare it before the item. Okay, so item 122 is minutes of the previous meeting. To resolve to approve the notes of the meeting of the 8th of November 2021 as minutes. Have we all read through those? And do we have a proposer? Thank you, Rick. Seconder? Sam? All those in favour? That's agreed. So item 123 is police, county and district matters.
So we have, I have the police report. Got so many things. So we've had, obviously, as I said, we've had lots of issues with the police this month with vandalism. And, sorry, bear with me 1 second. And police have come back to say, currently we're receiving a high volume of calls regarding hair coursing. Hair coursing in October 21 were less than half of that in October 2020. We believe this is because of the hard work put in by South Holland officers following local response plan. They don't have any figures for November yet. A force rural crime team has been established. This is in its infancy and currently has a sergeant and a handful of PCs. Where we cannot prove hair coursing, officers will still use ASB powers, which consist of dispersals, taking dogs and issuing CPNWs. Locally on South Holland, we have dedicated resources to Op Gallio, meaning that on certain days we put resources tasked with just hair coursing. We also have planned days of action involving local teams, special constabulary and special ops. We regularly have support from our colleagues in special ops tasked with Op Gallio, hair coursing patrols daily. We have had a couple of commercial burglaries recently, one in Holbridge Grove, and where high-value power tools were taken and damage caused. Another reported on a Holbridge building site, costing the victims many thousands of pounds.
Thank you. Do we have a report for item B, county from county council?
Right. Sorry. It's here, because I had it up on my screen 2 seconds ago, and now I can't find it. Here we go. So county, Boston Road is back open, as Andy and Water have now completed work there. As previously advised, I had already raised parking in the High Street as an issue and ideally wanting to extend the double yellow lines in the area opposite the church. As when people park along there, it causes tailbacks to the traffic lights due to not being able to get through. We therefore need to deal with it and stop the parking along the section where possible, particularly during the daytime when there is more traffic. I have submitted a TRO which has been accepted. It will then proceed to assessment. We will let you know any updates as it progresses. Currently working with the local police in relation to parking in the evenings in town, mainly in relation to people parking on pavements, causing issues for those with scooters or pushchairs needing to get by, causing them into the road to pass, which clearly isn't acceptable. Working with the NHS neighbourhood team in relation to mental health services locally, we are meeting again in January to shape the localised offer further. Stookley Gardens, extensive clearing up and tidying up has now been successfully completed in there. I am currently putting together a new project for the site, further details to follow next year. And from the district, Big Bang held lots of positive feedback and many of the shops felt the benefit and are keen to be involved in future years. Date confirmed for next year, 5th of November. Another event planned for 2nd and 3rd of July over a weekend, currently finalising funding details and then will proceed to publicise. Consultation is still open on the draft climate change strategy, open until Wednesday the 15th for anyone to submit their views. We are working on this alongside our two partner councils. The local shopping promotion scheme for Holbeach was drawn at the end of November and will run again during December. Prize is £500. Many of the local shops are participating in the scheme and take part in it. You just need to shop and support the local businesses. Supporting activities at 2 of the sheltered housing community centres. They are well attended and proving extremely beneficial for residents. Christmas clean-up is underway. Currently, Holbeach is the 3rd town on the cycle. It will be a several-day focused deep clean, including litter picking, removal of weeds and graffiti, cleaning of street furniture, etc. Hearts of Holbeach Awards final is live streamed this week. 10 categories celebrating local champions and businesses. A 3rd collection truck is aimed to be purchased so we can extend the garden waste scheme. Final decision will be taken at full council in January, but anyone interested in going on the list can register their interest now. The 3rd truck will bring the service to an additional 5,000 households. Ongoing residents' issues across a variety of services in both councils, including planning, highways and benefits, housing issues. As ever, get in touch via email if you have any questions.
Good update there from county and district matters. Okay, so moving along then to item 124 is the Open Spaces Committee. And first here it's to co-opt any interested members to that committee. Do we have anybody present that is interested in jumping on board of Open Spaces before we continue? Mark? Well done. Do we have a proposal and a seconder for Mark to join the committee? Rachel, Sam, all those in favour? It's agreed. Welcome on board to Open Spaces. Anybody else? Not at the moment. Tempt anybody? Okay. Thank you, Mark.
It's a really nice area.
It is lovely. Okay, so item 8 is to receive a report from Chairman Councillor Roger Flood.
Thank you. As briefly been touched on, there has been a spate of vandalism around the town and obviously mainly in Carter's Park as are concerned. Graffiti on the toilet block, we've had a bench gouged as well. Thanks to the parks team, it's now the toilet block's now been painted over, but the toilets have to stay closed due to the vandalism at the moment. Parks team have now completed the installation of Galahad in Netherfield, done a really nice job. Grass cutting contract is now finished for the season. Parks team have been continuing the maintenance in Parkway Cemetery. We're going to organise a meeting with the owners of the benches to reach an acceptable solution to the issues of the antisocial behaviour because they're congregating on certain benches. Memorial garden in Holgate is to be reduced in size. The vacant plots now at Bathersfield allotments have now been let. Review of the litter picking round has been carried out and all is good, and thank you to our litter picker. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice little snapshot there into open spaces. And item B is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the wording of the locking up contract, and to send it out. There's a copy of this put on the team drive. Quite heavy reading. Do everyone manage to have a look at it? Yeah. And are we happy with that? Do we have a proposer and a seconder for that to go out? Mark and Rachel, all those in favour? It's agreed. Item C is to resolve to agree to purchase the handrail for the pavilion ramp. This was flagged up in the minutes of open spaces. The ramp is to go on to the entrance of the pavilion. We'll solve a little diagram. Yeah. Do we have a proposer and a seconder to go ahead? Mark and Sam, yeah, and all those in favour? Thank you. That's agreed. Item D is to resolve to agree to save the date for the use of Carter's Park by Councillor Tracy Carter over the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of July 2022, subject to confirmation of the nature of the event and receipt of the events notification forms in due course. Quite straightforward. Tracy's requested to use the park over that period. Do we have a proposer and a seconder to save the dates? Peter, Rachel, all those in favour? Items agreed. Item E is to resolve to instruct Roy Thorne's solicitors as recommended by the committee for the legal work at Battlesfield Allotments. There's a document on the drive from Roy Thorne's. We just need some advice on there. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Okay, Isabel and Rachel. And all those in favour? Okay, that's agreed. Item F is to resolve to agree the out-of-hours weekend emergency procedure. Again, this was outlined in the document from Open Spaces. Do we have a proposer and a seconder on that item? Rachel and Mark, all those in favour? That's agreed. Okay, so item G is to discuss and resolve to agree the way forward with their neighbour-sponsored Holbeach Bank. Do we have any more information on this? Obviously there's a load on the drive to read.
Well, we didn't discuss this in the Open Spaces Committee, so I'm not too sure what I'm doing.
Okay.
Basically, you have no due to your power to spend money on that. You can't spend it under section 137 because 137 has to benefit people, lots of people, not just one person. So in effect, it's asking for an individual to repair a fence belonging to an individual.
So the way that I saw the document was that the fence in question isn't in our ownership, but we've been asked to help to repair it due to the fact that ivy's grown over a piece of land which is not ours. It's so we've got our boundary, then we've got a piece of land which is not ours, and then the boundary fence, and it has damaged the fence to an extent that has to be replaced. We have not got a power to award an individual any kind of money. It has to benefit everybody, even more than the parishioners. So the question, obviously, that we're asking here is, what's the way forward with it? We're having no power to spend money to do that. We have no obligation. It's not actually our fence. Does anybody have any expertise?
Is it to make good, for instance, a hole in the fence, or is it to replace the fence?
To replace the fence.
To replace it.
Yeah.
How much are we looking at?
Was there a quote?
Is there a quote?
2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Hang on, is it our fence?
No.
Well then, what's the issue?
Well, we've been asked to, historically, obviously Tim, you won't see all of this information, but you will have access to it from now on. There were some historical references that we've checked, which we can't find, that there was any fence repairs done. But we've been held accountable for something that really is down to Mother Nature. You know, the weeds have grown across. The piece of land hasn't been maintained.
I understand what you're saying, but you deal with an issue of boundary. If you have a boundary, there's one person owns one side, the other person owns the other side, and there's a fence in between there, and whichever side the posts are on is that person's fence, effectively. If we don't own that piece of land leading up to that fence, then we've got no obligation to replace it, or whatever you say.
No.
You know, at the end of the day, it's simply that's the aspect in law. So therefore, I think that's the position you need to take until proven otherwise. If there is any responsibility towards the council for this fence as such, at that point you can pick it up. If there's no responsibility, there's no need for us to be paying for it.
I think the interesting point, Tim, just before we go on there, is that this item is inherited as a council, and I completely understand boundary issues.
Sorry.
The actual question is we've been asked to contribute to the cost of something, and it's been asked of us as a council. So we've got two choices: whether we go back and say yes, or we say no.
I noticed that the people purchased the property 2 years ago. Why are they taking 2 to 3 years to raise the issue? I know Ivy's is fairly quick growing, but the Ivy would have surely run the fence at the time they purchased the property, or the fence was in such a condition as to need repair then.
Yeah, you've got a very good point again.
So it really supports my colleague's point there, but actually I don't think there's any real responsibility because we've got no duty.
Okay.
I'd just like to suggest that we write back and say we're not allowed to make any donation towards your fence legally.
We've got no power, so we can't.
And leave it as that.
Yeah. Okay, so the item was to discuss and resolve to agree the way forward with the neighbours' fence at Hobbage Bank. So we're now agreeing that we're going to report back to her to say that we do not have the obligation and we will not be contributing towards the fence. Do we have a proposer? Rick, and a seconder? Tim? All those in favour? Okay, so that's agreed. Make sure I get that quickly. Okay, so item H is resolved to agree to give the litter picker a key to the pavilion. Straightforward, it's a rest area, someone's having a tea. Do we have a proposer, a seconder, Peter and Rachel? All those in favour? Agreed. And item 125 is planning, properties, emergency planning and the speeding committee, and to co-opt any interested members onto the committee before we proceed. Is anybody interested in joining? Do I have to start all again? Mark? Okay, Mark's got his hand up there. Do we have a proposer? Sam, and a seconder? Peter? All those in favour? Okay, Mark, so you've got another job there, well done. I'm sure they'll welcome you on board.
Certainly will.
And item A is to receive the report by Vice Chairman Councillor Peter Sparks, please.
There's a summary of the minutes followed on the drive at the last meeting on 23rd of the 11th, following the points were raised and discussed and when necessary agreed. Committee sought to elect a new chair following the resignation of Councillor McNally, but like equal to Ms. Forms at the next agenda item on this meeting. All planning applications were received and considered, comments being noted as required, none were objected to. A speeding and SID placement report was given, the SID locations for next month were agreed. The SID is currently at Corbridge Bank. It was agreed to re-let Cooper Office 4 at Cooper on the same terms as previously in place. There was a discussion regarding the Bowls Club lease. The return to draft budget was reviewed and agreed. A representative from the planning committee was selected to attend finance committee meetings going forward. Agenda items and the next meeting scheduled for 21st, the 12th, 21 were requested. None were cited on the night.
Thank you. So item B is to resolve that the committee elects a member of the committee as chairman of that committee. Your item number 2. Do we have any nominations? Everyone's rushing. Sam, are you nominating yourself as chair?
I will nominate myself as chair.
Okay, and do we have a proposer? Peter, and a seconder, Isabel. All those in favour? Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
long discussion at committee. Obviously, I was the prime target for that position. I didn't stand because I've recently been promoted, and time is one of those things I don't have. That said, I recognise the amount of work required to take on the chair's position, and have expressed to Sam that as vice chair, we'll split that load as far as we can, so that the committee can act and operate efficiently.
I should rely on you as well. Thank you.
That's very kind, thank you. Okay, item C is to resolve to agree the planning responses. It was all online.
Yeah.
As
Do you want me to read them out? So there was planning number 1201, single story rear extension, no comments from councillors. 1216, conversion of archives room into 6 offices, 1 comment from a councillor. Then we had change of use, public house, hotel to residential dwelling. Then we had erection of detached dwelling, plot 1 approved under 0616, modification of condition 1. To allow amendments to previously approved plans, then we had 1232, proposed workshop and demolition of existing workshop. 1236, proposed extension and alterations. 1251, proposed self-contained annex, extension and alterations to a dwelling. 1253, garage to form self-contained annex. And then 1261, erection of 6 dwellings and associated parking. The last, that one before, and the self-contained annex all had 3 comments from councillors, but they were all, there was no objections to those. And the last one, 1260, was change of use of agricultural building to dwelling, and there was 3 responses from councillors to that one.
Okay, so there we have the report of the applications. I think it's quite fair to say that if a councillor agrees or doesn't disagree, then they make no comment. That says it all. If you have a comment, then you make it, whether you agree or you don't. So that is your opinion. So do we have a proposer and a seconder to agree those? Sam? Mark? All those in favour? So the planning responses have been agreed. D is to resolve to agree the recommendations of the committee, the cost of the fire alarm works at Kubru Chambers. Who's that?
Yeah.
We're winding everything up tonight.
This follows on from our assessment that we had done earlier in the year. Now that we're using that area as our meeting room, it needs upgrading for fire safety, so there's a few things that need to be done there, and we have 1 quote, and that is from the person that put in the original fire alarm system, and they were the cheapest when we had them put it in the last time, and it does include a yearly check on the fire system. So I would propose that we accept that quotation.
Okay. So there we have a proposal. Everybody's seen the information on the drive. I believe Rick might have had cast his eye over it.
I'd just like to ask if it's in budget, that's all. Have we got budget for it?
We haven't got budget in Clipper because we've already spent on the boiler, etc. But there is still some left in the budget in properties.
Fine.
Yeah. Give it a nod. So we've already had it proposed. Do we have a seconder? Peter, all those in favour? That's agreed. And F is to resolve to agree to write to SHDC regarding... Sorry, I did, E, sorry, it's not my side. To resolve to agree the cost of the works to create a hatch in the wall at Kubru Chambers. Again, is this your...
Yeah, this was discussion, obviously we're changing around the layout of Kimbrough so that the room that used to be the members now being used as a reception area for people when they come in, so that they can be shown which direction to go rather than having to wander around the whole building and try and find their way. Ideally, we'd like to have a hatch put in there at some point, because then it make the job a lot easier. I have got a ballpark figure. I've not got a full quotation at this precise moment, but ballpark figure is £350. So it's under the £500 spend for committees. So I would propose that if we can get it done for that sort of cost, that we look at getting it done as soon as we can.
And before recast, do you still have money in budget for it?
Well, again, same thing. There's still some left in the properties budget, but there is none left in the general for Creamwood.
Okay, so we have a proposal there. I like the way we've adapted the building, so we're taking into consideration the current circumstances with COVID, and we've split areas up so people are not just wandering all over. Probably money well spent to have the hatch there means they're just in the entrance and away they go. So we have a proposal. Do we have a seconder? Sam, and all those in favour? Okay, item's agreed. Right, F then, to resolve to agree to write to South London District Council regarding the closing time of a Boston Road car park.
That was brought up at the last full council meeting, and it was discussed that we would write to SHDC to see whether we could get them to open Boston Road car park into the evening or overnight to try and stop some of the parking on the high street that happens in the evenings. So that would be the proposal. I know we've tried previously, but didn't get anywhere with it.
Okay, so an agenda item from the previous meeting, and we are saying that we're going to be writing to South London District Council to ask them about the closing time. Do we have a proposer to do that and a seconder? Peter, Mark, all those in favour? Okay, agreed. Right away, thank you. So,
Can I suggest on that we copy in Councillor Carter, because she's interested in walking on High Street, and if she thinks an extra link might have extra weight to our request for that.
yeah, well, she's both district and county, so she'll have got right to it, but thank you. Okay, so item 126 is the PR and IT committee, and to co-opt any interested members onto the committee. So this is PR and IT. Mark, again, you're going to be one busy man. And do we have a proposal for Mark to go onto that one? We've got Peter, seconder, Sam. Is it you, Sam, seconded? Yeah. All those in favour? You're going to be very busy, Mark. But well done. It's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, and item 8 is to receive the report from our chairman, Councillor Dehampton.
Well, we had a very constructive committee meeting last Thursday afternoon. Several things were discussed. Holding a photography competition between now and June 2022 aimed at producing a parish calendar for 2023. This is on the main agenda to be discussed with the council. Councillor Sam Favell kindly donated a number of Christmas cards which will be delivered by hand to businesses, day centres, care homes and Holm Beach Hospital. Although it's not on the main agenda, we did discuss doing this on a regular basis each year. To encourage positive engagement with parishioners, it was agreed that each councillor would write a short autobiography to accompany a photograph, which we would then put out as a press release, explaining the reasons why they joined the parish council. This has been previously agreed at full council, I believe, and photographs were taken earlier on today. We discussed the formation of a school youth council, and it was agreed that Sophie and myself would liaise with the academy with the possibility of forming a youth council. We discussed advertising for co-option of new members onto the council, such as a press release, a poster on the notice board, Facebook and our website, which was discussed and agreed. We talked about terminating the ARC contract for the IT support because we felt that it wasn't good value for money, and that is again on the main agenda for discussion. It was also agreed to recommend to full council to have a stall at the weekly Thursday market in the car park, just to give us a little bit of output to the community, and also maybe at the food festival. We had discussed the fees for freedom of information requests, but we have put this on the agenda for the next meeting after we've got some more information regarding what we can and can't charge. And our next meeting is planned for Thursday the 6th of January. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very exciting, some bits coming out there, well done. Okay, so a few of those items we're now going to help you sort out. So item B is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee for a photography competition via Facebook for Albridge Calendar. What a wonderful thing. Excellent. Do we have a proposer?
The only thing I would say is that when we discussed it at the meeting, we said it wouldn't just be via Facebook.
Yeah.
We would look at,
Other
alternatives,
platforms,
yeah, and voting in person, etc., and bits and pieces. So yeah.
But to get your idea off the ground, I think we have a proposer. Sorry, I missed who. Rick, second. Sam, all those in favour? Well done. Item C is to resolve to agree to serve notice on the ARC ICT. Yeah. Obviously that's been touched on, and the committee feel that their services are no longer required.
Yeah, no longer required and not value for money.
No value for money. There was some information on the drive about this. Do we have a proposer to serve that notice, please? Peter and a seconder. Sam, and all those in favour? Okay, items agreed. D is to resolve to agree to have a stall at the Thursday market. Sophie?
We amended that agenda item at our PR and IT meeting to say that it would be at the Thursday market and other locations, so we'd move around and also look at possibility of going to villages, etc. as well, to get out to a wider audience. So I would propose that we amend the agenda item for full council as well.
Okay, so Sophie's asked us to amend the agenda item D. Mark?
I'm just going to ask you a point on that in relation to, from the PR perspective, was it ever thought about doing sort of the surgeries on for, sort of like local politicians? Because we've got people in chambers that we potentially could use maybe for that.
Yeah. Mark, you're quite right, we used to do surgeries, we used to pop up usually in the library, and it was usually on a weekend, and it was one of those things where COVID really got in the way. Our PR and IT was really gunning for that kind of infiltration into the public eye, and then all of a sudden we was held back, so we have to think about it. I like the idea of having this outside in the open, and I went and attended a meeting at the market a few weeks ago now, and it's quite nice there. So the agenda item, I think, is absolutely perfect, but committing every week can be the downside. Every Thursday, it might be that it's a rotation, and then it's going to need members to interact. So Sophie's asked us to amend the item to obviously be more universal with it, to agree to have a stall at the Thursday market, elsewhere, move about, that kind of thing. And I need a proposer to amend the item first. Rick? And a seconder? Mark? So the item is amended. And then we'll need a proposer. to agree the item. Sophie, and a seconder, Peter, and all those in favour? Okay, so the item's agreed. Okay, so item 127, the events committee, and first of all is to co-opt any interested members to the committee, and I'm not looking at you, Mark. It's all right. Anybody want to hop on? Not this time around? How many members do you need?
I think, to be honest, if no member wants to commit fully to doing it, it would be useful if they are able to pop in and pop out for certain things. So, like if we're doing the Jubilee, we may need some extra people to do that. We may need some extra people when we're thinking about Christmas. So you may not need to necessarily commit all the time, but if there's anybody that's interested in popping in and out, then that would be very useful.
Okay. Mark wants to pop in and out. So does Sam.
Rachel?
Rachel.
No,
And Rick?
Thank you.
Looks like we're all there.
Problem solved then.
There you go. Do we have a proposer and a seconder for people to pop in and out? Isabel? Rick? Seconder? Another seconder? Peter?
Yes.
All those in favour? Okay. So item 8 is to receive the report from the chairman, Councillor Isabel Hutchinson, please.
Okay, we're currently running the Advent Duck Trail in the town with 24 ducks hidden in business windows. Each day we reveal where the duck is and promote that particular business on Facebook, and hopefully this will help to show what variety of businesses we have in the town and encourage people to shop local. We're also running the Best Christmas Window competition. This is a public vote and members of the public can vote through the Facebook page. They have to find the number of their favourite window and then vote for that window on Facebook. If they haven't got Facebook and they wish to do it another way, they can do it by just writing the number down and putting it through the post box in Coombe. The voting does end on the 17th of December, so we've only got 3 days left, and then the winner will be announced on the 22nd of December. We discussed the Jubilee event in some detail, and we are planning to have a public meeting before our next full council meeting. I have put the time wrong in my report. We agreed to have a public meeting at 5:45, I believe, wasn't it? So we're going to be inviting key groups to come along to that meeting again, and individual members of the public can also attend. The idea being that we can then start to coordinate what individual groups are going to be involved in on the day. And then we're also planned out our calendar of events for 2022, which is on the agenda to agree later on.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to the item B is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee for the road closure for the Jubilee event on Saturday the 4th of June 2022. So the documents were on the drive there with clear indications of the proposed road closures. We're still happy with those, I presume?
We sent in suggestions to Highways to get their feedback first, because obviously we ideally would like to have a road closure that's going to benefit as many businesses as possible, as well as the community. Their preferred road closure out of the High Street and Church Street was Church Street, because it's going to not disrupt as much traffic. So we're proposing that we go with the Church Street road closure, because obviously we'll be using the churchyard as a focal point. And it also means that we need less marshals for the road closure. So that's our proposal.
Okay. So do we have a proposer and a seconder for the item? Tim, thank you. Seconded Mark. All those in favour? It's agreed. And item C is resolved to agree the events calendar for 2022.
Okay, that's been in the drive for everybody to see, but basically at the moment what we have got penciled in is over Easter we are proposing to do a Easter duck hunt, because we've got a thing with ducks now. So that will be around Castles Park and potentially through the town as well. It depends on how much we decide to plan out. The idea is that they have to find clues to find the ducks, and then if they then get all the clues right, it will maybe write a word or something, and then they come and collect their prize at the end. That's the idea. In May, we'll just do a yard sale like we did last year, because it's nice and easy to organise. In June, we've got the Jubilee, so we've got the beacon lighting on the Thursday, and on the Saturday will be the Jubilee event. In July, the 24th, we've got the car show, which is now going to be in a bigger venue because it was so popular last year, so it's going to be at the Holbridge Primary Academy down Boston Road. Already got nearly 100 cars booked in, so it's already starting to grow quite quickly. August, again, looking to do a yard sale. November will be Remembrance in some form or another, and then December we're looking at trying to resurrect the Christmas fair. But we haven't got a date agreed for that as yet, but we are going to be liaising with other groups to see what date is going to be best.
Okay, great that we're planning ahead. It's what we always needed to be doing. So simply we need a proposer and a seconder for those items. Rick, and seconder Rachel. All those in favour? Great, good teamwork. Well done. We're going to start a board game, duck board game. You raise some colours. Okay, so moving on to item 128 is the Finance Committee. And item A is to receive the report from Chairman and Councillor Rick Stevens, please.
So, in addition to the normal monthly agenda items, we also had quite a long discussion regarding the accounts software, commonly known as Scribe, with a view to changing it, and that will come up later on in the proposal. And we also proposed that with the recent sale of some of our assets that are no longer required, that we keep a proportion back to go into our reserves, as we have a requirement to hold at least a third of our annual expenditure in reserves, which we currently don't have. So I think the assets were sold for in the region of £6,400, I think. And we agreed to spend 4,000 of it on a new trailer for the park team, and the other 2,400 to go into the reserves.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, so moving on into your item B is to resolve to agree the December payments list. Has everyone seen the payments list? And does everyone agree? Do we have a proposer? Do you have questions?
No.
Rick. Seconder? Yeah, no, that went on sort of hesitantly. I'm just double checking. Seconder Rachel. All those in favour? Okay, item agreed. Item C is to resolve to agree the bank reconciliation. Everybody seen that in their pack? And do we have a proposer? Rick, a seconder? Peter, all those in favour? Item agreed. E is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the draft budgets for... Oh, sorry, I've done it again. I think the writing's got smaller. To resolve to agree the Barclaycard bill, item D. Has everybody seen that? Do you have a proposer? Rachel, seconder? Sophie, all those in favour? Okay, it's in favour then. Sorry, Robert. Item E is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the draft budgets for 2022-23. Has everyone's had a good input into the budget calculations ready for next year. So thank you all for your hard work on that, especially Rick.
Can I just say we're still waiting for South Holland to issue the tax base number, and until we've got that, then we're working blind at the moment.
Yeah. I think the good thing is that we're working ahead. I remember this conversation happening in February, so well done for the December meeting. So we're looking for agreement for the recommendation of the committee for the draft budgets. Do we have a proposer? Rick, and a seconder? Mark, and all those in favour? Item agreed. So item F is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee the tender for cleaning services. Someone had a read through there? Do we have a proposer and a seconder for the item? Isabel? Rick? All those in favour? Item agreed. Okay, so item G is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee the amount of the sales proceeds from the equipment be reinvested in new equipment. As Rick said, some assets have been sold and some of the money is going to be used to purchase some new equipment and the rest being put into reserves. Do we have a proposer? Sam, and a seconder? Rachel, and all those in favour? Okay, item agreed. H, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee to pay staff salaries 1 week early in December. This is an annual thing, isn't it?
It was amended finance to offer it to the staff who wanted it and who didn't. Some do, some don't. So it's only some of the staff that can take the return.
Okay. So the item there is to agree the recommend to pay staff salaries 1 week earlier in December. Do we need to remember?
No, because if we don't have to.
You don't have to. Do we have a proposer? Rick, a seconder? Rachel, all those in favour? Okay. January is a long month. And I is to resolve to agree the recommendations of the committee, the VAT review. That was an interesting document.
Can I just jump in there?
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so Jan, on one of her many training courses, discussed with the trainers, should we or should we not be registered for VAT? And it's come out after some digging and some investigating and asking lots of different people different questions that we don't need to be registered for that. So I propose that we ignore that one.
Okay, so we're okay, unfortunately it doesn't really work that way. We can't just VAT review. So basically you reviewed the VAT, we don't have to be registered, so that's your recommendation.
Yes.
Do we have a proposer? And a seconder? Tim? Okay, all those in favour? Okay, the review's been agreed. J, to resolve to agree the recommendations of the committee the purchase of the new accounts and administration software. There's a load of details about this on the system. Go on.
So I'll just jump in very quickly.
Go on then.
The current system Scribe isn't fit for what we pay for, unfortunately. So we've had a look around. Jan and I spent some time with a company called Realtus the other day, which is offering us a package called Amiga, which will do absolutely everything that we want apart from butter toast. So the proposal is that we go ahead and buy it.
Okay, same question. Do we have the money for it?
Yes.
Okay.
And does that include works to help migrate from one to the other? The traditional finance finance systems are quite complicated.
Yeah, what will happen at year end, we'll pass all our year end figures over to them, and then they will set up our chart of accounts for us, and they will then load the data in that we give them, and they will then spend a week or so thoroughly testing it, and then we'll go live with it. So in the meantime, we carry on with Scribe in the background, so we'll have 2 systems going for a short period of time. So we shouldn't logically miss any payments or invoices out because it will be on Scribe. And obviously once Amiga goes live, then it'll just be a question of uploading all the new stuff that hasn't gone in yet. So, quite simple.
And in terms of our retrospective, we're trying to keep financial accounts available for, I think it's 7 years. Are we then sort of downloading from Scribe?
So download it into a hard copy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the information there. So to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the purchase of the new accounts and administration software. Do we have a proposer for the item? Sophie, a seconder? Peter. And all those in favour? Okay, the item's been agreed. Okay, K, to resolve to agree the recommendations of the committee, the asset, inventory and dispose of assets policies. Thank you for that one.
It's okay, nice one.
Just got it out.
The information's all on the drive.
Yeah.
So.
Quite straightforward. Did everyone have a munch through there? Quite straightforward. Okay, so do we have a proposer for the policy? Rick, and a seconder? I'll do that. All those in favour? I'll get my hand up somehow. All those in favour? Okay, items approved. Okay, L, to resolve to agree the vehicle insurance renewal premiums.
The only thing I have to say on that is the Massey Ferguson can be removed because we no longer have it. But other than that, yeah, it's fine.
Once it's physically gone, I'll take it off cover.
Yeah.
Okay, did everyone have a quick look through the figures, the premiums? Is everybody happy? So do we have a proposer? Isabel? Seconder? Mark? All those in favour? Okay. Okay, M, to resolve to agree that councillors should pay for costs involved when not attending pre-booked training. Quite simple, we get a lot of free training as councillors, but if you're not booking through the office and you're booking it on your own merits.
Can I just say, even though the training we get offered is free, if we don't attend, they do charge us extra. As I didn't go on a training course, which I missed, so I paid £11.50 back.
Yeah.
Very fair.
It's a policy they have of non-attendance because they could have given that place to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did see with the first aid training, and it was so lovely to see most of us, or all of us, offering to pay for it ourselves. Brilliant call. Okay, so the item is to agree that council should pay for costs involved when not attending pre-booked training. Do we have a proposer? Rick? Seconder? Peter? All those in favour? Item agreed.
Mr. Chairman, can I be excused? I need to go.
Of course. Thank you.
Oh, she has an accountant.
You're fine.
Okay.
He said he might have to have another meeting sometime.
I didn't know if you were on the relief.
No.
No.
You know.
His excuse. Thank you. Okay, so item 129, to discuss and resolve the way forward regarding the request from All Saints Church for the parish council to pay for repairs to the clock. Now there was some information put on the drive about public blocks and how we have a duty.
No.
We don't have a duty.
No, it's not a duty, we have the power to do
We
it.
have a power.
How much money? How much money are we talking about?
Just as a update really, I was made aware that somebody from the church had approached our chairman about this. And last year we did a fundraising ball for the church, which the money was meant to be going towards paying for the tower, but they got a grant whereby they couldn't accept any other grants towards it. So the money that I'd raised, I kept back, and I said, well, when there's another project, we'll give it that way. So I contacted to ask them about it. They have approached another charity that normally helps out with church projects. They pointed them in our direction and said maybe we'd like to offer some money. Our clerk obviously has investigated what the situation is with that. I was told that they have already instructed the company to do the work, and it was going to cost in the region of 2,000 and a bit. And that the other charity had said if they didn't get anywhere with the parish council to go back to them and they would potentially help fund. So if they've already instructed, they've obviously got the money to be able to pay. I personally feel that that there's money available from elsewhere to help, and it would be better utilised coming from those sources than it would come in from us, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. That's in a nutshell exactly what happened. If there is funds to tap into, it doesn't make sense for us to be spending parishioners' money again. So the item is to resolve the way forward regarding the request from All Saints Church for the parish council to pay for repairs to the clock. And our proposal is
That we go back to them and say that unfortunately we haven't.
at this time we haven't got the funds. Do we have a proposer, please, for that? Rick, a seconder, Peter. All those in favour of that matter going forward? Item agreed. Thank you. Okay, item 130 to resolve to accept the deadline of the LCC Verges contribution. Isabel?
This, for those obviously that haven't been on council as long as some of us, it is a historic thing in that LCC are the authority that cut the verges. This includes all of the verges in small estates like East Arrow Avenue and places where you've got pockets of green that need to be cut. They reduced the amount of times they were cutting because of budget restraints, and so they offered the opportunity for parish councils to take on extra cuts to pay for them. We have always done that, but we don't actually do the cutting ourselves. It is contracted, and district council do the cutting, but that was contracted by LCC before we even did anything else. So basically we get an amount of money from LCC for the cuts that they would be doing themselves, and then we pay them to pay the other contractor, which is a very convoluted way of doing things, but that's the way it is. Personally, it's a very large amount of money, and most of the areas that they're cutting, people do actually cut them themselves, because if it's immediately in front of their own house, most people are cutting them themselves. And one of the areas that they have on their list when they sent out all the maps was our road, Edinburgh Walk, and there is a portion on the opposite side of the road to where I live that is grassed areas in front of every single house, and I have never once seen them cut them. Because they don't need to, because everybody else is already cutting it. So we're paying for a service that half the time they're not actually doing. So my proposal would be that as we also have budget restraints, that it's not our responsibility to do it, it is LCC's responsibility to do it, and that we say, thank you very much for that.
I absolutely get the conversation, because when I first joined as a councillor, I could not believe that there was to and fro over something that's been sort of handed to us, all that sort of stuff. And a lot of these areas, it's not our land, it's the green spaces that are in LCC.
This is obviously a different verge cut into what I'm keen on, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's because I see the figure.
This is more like communities,
Yeah, that's brilliant.
not the flower cut.
Thank you.
So yes, it can be a little bit confusing, but when it's given to you in straight terms, it's like, well, it just seems a bit strange. And like Isabel said, it's a large amount of money. So the item is to resolve to agree for, to resolve to accept or decline the LCC Verges contribution. And
My proposal is we decline.
so the proposal on the table for decline.
I don't want to set a precedent for my verge case.
That they have a duty to cut for health and safety reasons.
Yeah.
So if an area becomes unsafe, then if it's reported to them, they have a duty to do that.
So that's
from the
covers
point
your
of view of your
areas.
verge cutting that is a highways issue and health and safety, if it's reported to them, they should do it.
I still want to put regular.
But that's not what we're talking about at this
That's
stage.
what.
Okay, so we've had a proposer, we've had a seconder, all those in agreement to decline? Item agreed, thank you. Okay, item 131 is to resolve to agree for the clerk to use Holwich Parish Council documents for her Silka course.
I'll propose.
No, you don't need to, I think it was all quite straightforward. Got a proposer, seconder. Mark, all those in favour? Thank you very much. Agreed. Okay, so we're now moving on to item 132, HR, Health and Safety and Data Protection Committee. Now, item A is a report by Chairman's Councillor Sophie Hutchinson, and this is to resolve to exclude the press and the public under the Public Bodies Administration to Meetings Act 1960 due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. In order to move that in closed session, I will need a proposer, Rick, and a seconder, Rachel. And all those in favour? Okay, that's agreed. Now, when we take something into closed session now, it's at the end of the meeting, so I'll now need a proposer to agree to move that item, agenda item number, to the end of that meeting. Rick? And we have a seconder, Rachel. All those in favour? Okay, so that's item 132A moved to the end of the meeting. Sorry, you will get to speak in a second. B is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the delegated powers of the clerk. Thank you, Sophie.
Okay, so another thing that John has picked up during their silk training and various training courses, the use of delegated powers. Now we already have a delegated power for the clerk to be able to spend up to £500 for emergencies with permission from 2 councillors. We discussed it at HR and we are proposing that we include 2 other delegated powers. So one of them was that the clerk may use the following delegated powers on her own to accept apologies from councillors for meeting attendance. So given that we don't disclose the reasons for non-attending because quite a lot of them are confidential. It would make sense that the clerk has the authority to accept those reasons for apology under delegated powers. And the other one is that the clerk may use the following delegated power with written consent email of at least 2 councillors to instruct staff to carry out minor works not previously agreed by council. So that wouldn't include spending because that's already covered, but if something hasn't been put on a work schedule or something at open spaces but it crops up as an emergency, then that can be dealt with consent of 2 councillors. So I would like to propose that we accept those 2 amendments to the delegated powers.
Okay, so we have a proposer. Are you questioning?
No, seconded.
You're seconding. We get there then. Seconding Rachel. All those in favour? Okay, so item B is agreed. Okay, so item C, to resolve to agree the pay scale of the clerk, to resolve to exclude the press and public under the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960 due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. As with the previous item A, do we have a proposer? Mark, and a seconder, Isabel. All those in favour? Okay, so the items have been agreed to move into closed session, and then we're just going to reorder the agenda. So do we have a proposer to reorder the agenda to carry this at the end of the meeting? Rachel, and a seconder? Sam, and all those in favour? Okay, item agreed. So item 133 is agendaed item requests, please. Anybody got anything you want to throw in the pot now, or you can get them to Jan by your cut-off deadline? No? Okay. So if anything springs to mind, you can email them over to Jan, and then we'll get them sorted on for the agenda. And 134 is to confirm the date and venue of the next parish council meeting. So A is to agree the next parish council meeting date of the 17th of January 2022 at 1900 hours at the Methodist Church here in Albert Street. Do you have a proposer and a seconder? Rachel, Sam, all those in favour? Okay, item agreed. Okay, so that just leaves me all to wish you all, and I wish you a very happy Christmas and New Year. Thank you.